Time now for paper review. We'll start off with the headlines. And the Republic Press, that big one, Akufo-Addo teases Domelevo as he praises new Auditor General. And he had some words to say about the new Auditor General after that, report that was put out by the Auditor General. And so he says that he's done something that's never been done before, even during the time of Daniel Domelevo. And so he was praising the acting one and says he hopes that this is going to be enough to speed up the process to formalize his appointment as the Auditor General. We'll get into that, but also it says closure of radio stations by Akufo-Addo's government has a bad precedent. The table will turn one day. That's according to former President John Dramani Mahama, who's on a thank you tour. And also second dose AstraZeneca vaccination starts next week, Health Minister shows. And we're told that, the administration of the Johnson & Johnson ends today. So for those of you who have not taken the jab yet, please find a place to get yours. 166 specialists to begin separation of conjoined twins first week in September. We're told that government has made available funds that it promised to help these babies undergo surgery. JDM bashes EC for supporting Ikuya Donko & Co. An act on Auditor General's report, President has been told. ABC News, government exposes Mahama over an inherited uncompleted health facilities. Agenda 111 plunges NDC's communication into disarray. Ghana is best placed to have a petroleum hub for West Africa. The Daily Guide and former President Kufuor pardons Alote Jacobs over vile lies. He went there yesterday to apologize to the former president, and you see a photo of the two of them. Alote Jacobs is an embattled NDC, member and executive as well. Nana throws Domelevo jabs. John Boedu charges on Bagbin. And 9.2 million Ghana City street lights contract awarded before approval. I'm not sure why we keep getting a lot of these issues, coming up. And one of them will be the issues that we'll be discussing later today with regards to the work that former Attorney General Daniel Domelevo did, which is why a lot of people believe he was chased out of office. And so they're wondering why the president is praising the current acting Auditor General. But Business and Financial Times, $36 million meter procurement fraud cast dark clouds over power sector. Now also ECG indebtedness to Bui Power hits over $386 million. Cocoa Board breaks 10-year production record, produces 1,033,132.19 metric tons for the 2020-2021 crop season. Why GNPC must take control of Ghana's oil and gas resources. And the Finder, also on there, we have Cocoa Board on target to hit 1.6 million tons. And a photo of the chief executive of Cocoa Board is there, Joseph Boahin Edu. Also, 23.9 million Ghana cedis worth of chemicals fertilizers expired at Cocoa Board, according to the Auditor General. 1.9 million spent at buffer stock without CEO, senior finance officers' approvals. And government denies spending 600 million Ghana cedis on Agenda 111 before sword cutting. The Finance Ministry has released a statement, and they're saying that we've only released the money into the accounts, but it has not been disbursed yet. Ghanaian Times also says demand for better conditions of service. Don't disrupt academic work. President urges UTAG and stakeholders, and UTAG has called off the strike. Finally, go back to negotiation table. Court orders UTAG and NLC, and also government rejects implementation of CRC recommendations. Police recruitment 2021. And so for those of you who are hoping to join the Ghana Police Service, on page 13 and 14 of the Ghanaian Times, please purchase it today and get all the details that you require. Joining us in the studio is the head of the legal team of the NDC, lawyer Abraham Amaliba. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Bella.
I see you once a week now. At least every Friday, I'm assured. Or every other Friday, I'm assured of seeing you. How's your week been?
Probably every other Friday.
Probably so. Yeah. How have you been?
I'm quite well, except the excruciating economy that we are faced with. I think that the challenges that we are facing is as a result of poor management of the economy. I heard, when I was on my way here, I heard the Deputy Minister of Agri saying that in December, initially they said in September, food prices would come down. But normally everybody knows when there's harvest, food prices come down. Your ability to ensure food security and food sustainability throughout the year is what makes you to tout your credentials. But if you are just waiting for people to harvest, if I harvest my corn and I'm eating, is that part of your policy? Is that what you have done to ensure that I am being able to feed myself. It is when there's continuous food security and food sustainability, then an agric minister can now come out and say that, look, we have a good policy and this policy is bearing fruits, and that is why we have this period of food security. So I think that their planning for food and jobs mantra has failed.
He says it's still the Messiah.
It has
for
failed.
us.
It has failed. If it is the Messiah, I'm sure by now people will not have been complaining about food shortages. You know what is even more serious has to do with our schools, secondary schools, free SHS. I am hearing, and the first time I heard it, I thought it was one of the media things, that porridge is given to school children in school, the SS, and now they are being asked to bring their own bread or sugar.
Which school is this?
In one of the schools in Ashanti region. But last week, you had a school in Damongo, I think the Damongo Secondary School. They were complaining about food shortage, and actually, they had to ask their students to go out and buy food and eat. If your planning for food and jobs is working, our students should not be starving in school.
But he says this is a temporary issue, which is why he's saying by the end of the year it will be resolved. We should liken this to a baby with measles. You treat it and eventually it clears. And if, I could read it. He says, what hit us this year can be likened to a baby born looking so good, and then suddenly some measles come to attack the baby. The baby before the measles was walking and getting ready to run, then measles came, slow the baby down. That does not mean the baby will not walk or run. That is what is happening to the whole policy of planting for food and jobs.
So if you fail to give the baby the usual vaccinations, which will prevent the measles, you can't turn around and blame measles, because you had the opportunity of preventing the child from getting that measles.
But he says 2020 was a tough year for everyone, and for them maybe they relaxed because we had produced abundantly, which is probably why they all relaxed, because the year was difficult. But they are hoping that this year will be better and they'll resolve it.
We have not elected people to come into office and be relaxing on their sofas. That's not what it is continuous work throughout the year. This statement that he's making is shooting himself in the foot. Why do you say you relax? Are you in office to continuously work, or you are in office to intermittently relax? And look at what your relaxation has caused us. That is what his relaxation has caused us. So I think that they should be up and doing. It is sad that school children would have to, our learners will have to go through that process and that excruciating situation in school. I don't think that you will want your child who is in school go through this. And I think it is important that stakeholders begin to point out to government where they have gone wrong.
The president indicated earlier this year that we had become a net exporter of food. Yet prices of tomatoes have gone up. And in fact, the market women are saying that it's because we are importing tomatoes from Morocco. And so that is one of the reasons why prices are going up. Now, we also know that the prices of maize has gone up as well because of, you know, issues with rainfall and stuff. So that's also affecting the price of many food items. And even eggs now have gone up because they are not getting enough to feed poultry for them to produce the eggs as well. Yes, the president says that we have become a country that's a net exporter of food to other countries.
No. Did I hear you right say we import tomatoes from
Yes,
Morocco?
the market women had said it.
Morocco?
Yes, that
no
one of the
Burkina
reasons...
Faso.
Well, Burkina Faso as well, but they're saying that now we have tomatoes that are coming from Morocco as well. Which is why the prices of tomatoes have gone up.
Look, as for the president, I have stopped listening to him. I've stopped listening to him because he says one thing and does another. And so, if you have a president who speaks and people doubt his credibility, clearly it is a situation which is, for me, a lost case. You have his vice president also coming out to try to rationalize the situation in which we find ourselves.
He says your party is a party of impossibility.
And says that inflation is down. He says that other factors of production are down. And so we should be grateful. And yet, when you go to the grounds, when you go to the markets, prices of food items are skyrocketing. In fact, before I came in, you people were talking about that. And so for the president and his vice president, I'm sure, because of where they find themselves, they are detached from the realities on the ground. And so if my president speaks this way, and I find my situation in dire straits, all I can do is to consider my president as one who is not in tune with the realities.
Is that what it really means?
That's what it means, because as an individual, I know my circumstances. There was a poll yesterday on one of the FM stations in Accra here. Over 87% of Ghanaians indicated that their conditions, economic conditions, have worsened within this period. And so instead of him listening to what Ghanaians are saying, he's on his ivory tower and spewing out what is not the situation on the ground. This president never says something and walks the talk. He comes out, he says things which cannot be supported by facts.
What are some of these things he said that cannot be supported by facts? You tell us.
He just said that the economy is doing well and that food items will be cheaper or are cheaper when he addressed the nation in Parliament. And I'm saying that that cannot be true. That cannot be true because Kenke, which used to be 1 cedi, is now 2 cedis.
Yeah.
And the size has reduced. Kenke. So the president should come down to the level of the people. I want him to pay visits to the places that he used to go to when he was a candidate. You remember, as a candidate, he went to La to eat with people at La. That picture is there. He should go back to the same people. He should go back to the same people. That's the way to measure whether his administration has improved upon the lives of Ghanaians or not. He should go back there without his soldiers, without his bodyguards. He just walked there quietly. Nobody knows that he's coming. And find out from the people. Those people he ate with, they are still alive. So I think that this president, having come into office for the past 5 years, and having surrounded himself with bootlickers who will not tell him what is true, is beginning to be detached from the realities on the ground. So I'm not surprised he will say that the economy is doing well. I'm not surprised he will say that there's food for everybody to eat. I'm not surprised he will say that his government is doing well because he's no more in touch with the people of this country. Well,
Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng has joined us and recently appointed the spokesperson for the Education Ministry. Congratulations on that. You have a lot of work to do.
That's true.
I hope that you're gearing up for all of that.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm sure, I mean, if you have a working minister in the person of the Honorable Dr. Yaw, I am sure in spite of all those challenges, we will prevail. And if you look at the president's contribution and determination to ensure that our educational system becomes, I mean, something that we can speak about, I should think, in spite of all the challenges, we should be able to win ultimately.
All right. Well, let's see how that goes. But we're talking about planting for food and jobs, and the fact that, I mean, many have described this particular initiative as a failed one. The deputy minister says that we have not failed. It's just, you know, the times that we find ourselves in. We hope to fix the problem of hiking food prices by the end of the year. But sometime in July this year, this was on the 27th of July, he indicated that 1.7 million farmers had enrolled on planting for food and jobs. And so the question we're asking then is, he's optimistic that just because of the numbers of farmers that we have enrolled on it, if they put in the right measures, things will be fine. But for how long do we have to wait? Because there are people who haven't had an increase in their salaries. Some only got 4%. We're paying more taxes. Now we have to pay more for food and everything else. This is not what you promised the ordinary Ghanaian when you were coming to power.
Okay, well, thank you once again. A very good morning to you once again. Apparently, if you look at the hardship I mean, it's something that all of us as Ghanaians, we do acknowledge, and of course, even we as a government, we believe that we are not in normal times, and ordinarily, I mean, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in such a situation, but I mean, the bottom line is that we are not in normal times. But Bella, I think we have to look at it from the broader scope of agriculture. If you look at agriculture, for instance, you know, agriculture is a seasonal enterprise or a seasonal venture, and I mean, there are some seasons that you have the bumper season. There are also other times that you have the lean season. And so if you have the bumper season, you realize that there is a lot of food. At the end of the day, nobody is complaining. We are buying tomatoes sometimes. Market women are complaining that they are also not making money. Farmers are also complaining that they are not making profit because the food is in excess. I mean, you also juxtapose that with the lean season where we, the consumers, we come in and start crying.
But we had a plan for the lean season,
yes.
which is why we introduced one village, one dam, because that was supposed to provide irrigation
exactly.
throughout the year,
Exactly.
so that when the rains are not coming, at least we can rely on that.
Exactly.
And so how are we now saying that the lean seasons and all of that? We should have had a plan, which is what we promised.
Yes. So like I was saying, I think I was coming there, and I will still start from the bumper season. If you look at the bumper season, most of the times it's also disadvantaged. I mean, if you want to have a general conversation about this whole agriculture sector, you should look at the players and the actors that are involved. It is probably not only the consumer who must always be probably listened to. You also look at it from the perspective of the farmer and then consumer, and then you balance it.
The farmer is not getting fertilizers because fertilizers are being smuggled.
So I think you are the issues that you are raising. You should just allow me when I answer one. Then
well, you're saying that we should look at it from the perspective of the farmer, and I'm just bringing that in.
So I was landing. What I was saying is that if you look at it during the bumper season, when food is in excess and the farmer is complaining, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what as a government or what as a nation our response to this season? I mean, whether it's bumper or it's lean. And so if you look at the bumper season, for instance, you have, I mean, initiatives like one district, one warehouse. We have initiatives like one district, one factory. I mean, recently, the Ekunfi factory, if you recall, recently, President inaugurated a 16 million dollar project at Nkranza, which was a tomato processing factory.
Okay.
So these are all some of the initiatives that you use to tackle such a problem. Again, then you come to that aspect of the lean season that you raise. If you look at the lean season, of course, we will be looking at irrigation. And again, I mean, irrigation, you may be looking at the projects like one village, one dam, like you rightly said. But admittedly, and this is a concession that we all have to make, this is a prolonged problem that even no matter how we fix it, we may still be having challenges with such problems. And so the bottom line is that if you want to measure governments, probably, their commitment to the cause of agriculture, you measure it based on the commitment that the government has made. Of course, I mean, these problems did not just emanate. In 2012, in 2008, I mean, you can predict that every year we have this conversation. The conversation about increment of food prices. And I just want us to accept and admit that you realize that this conversation even becomes a seasonal conversation. Why is it that we do not also complain when it gets to the bumper time? I mean, at that time, so you realize that the farmers are also complaining. So you have to indeed have a plan or have an approach. And of course, I mean, I have demonstrated to you that when it comes to the bumper season, government has really committed to solving some of the challenges there. Of course, we have not been able to solve all the challenges when it gets to the lean season. That is providing irrigation. I mean, recently, President, if you look at the Bagre Dam projects, for instance, that was recently commissioned, that I think as part of the project, there should be irrigation for our people in the north, the farmers there, to be able to use the water to farm. And so these are all some of the initiatives or the interventions that the government would do. But the bottom line is that this is, I mean, a prolonged problem. It is not something that we are going to be able to solve it today. Admittedly, that it still rests on leadership. But if you want to measure our track record with what our brothers in the NDC did, and the clear attempt by the Honorable Amaleba to reduce it to politics, as though during the NDC's time, there was no season where people complain about food prices. There was no season where farmers
every time you go on this tangent, I bring you back to the issue of you promised us that you will do better. And so this is not, if you want to compare to what was done in the past, then you should have given us enough. We do not have a factory in every district like you promised. It's been how many years since you got into power? This is your 5th year. And we still do not have, you know, a factory in every district, because if we had that, then maybe we would have addressed these issues where we would have processed some of these plants, would have found a way to store them, even, you know, the warehouses. I remember that when there was rice glut, the farmers complained that there were places where the warehouses were kilometers away from the farmlands. And so even transporting some of these produce to the warehouses was a problem. So it would stay on the farmlands and it would be eaten by pests and all that, and it would, you know, get destroyed. So have we really addressed the problem, so that if we had gotten to a time like this, we won't have to be worried about the prices of food going higher, you know, higher, because we would have processed these products?
Thank you. So I'm not sure the suggestion that you are implying is that the solution to our challenges is an event. No, the solutions to our challenges has never been an event. I mean, sometimes even if you look at the solution itself, I mean, sometimes even the solution itself comes out with its own challenges. But bottom line is that as leadership, as government, as stakeholders, you look at the approaches, the best approaches in even addressing the problems that has prevailed. The point is that in having a conversation like this, especially on a political platform, and especially when the decision makers, the policy makers who are involved are political actors, you cannot also remove that bit of political interrogation. Of course, we heard about reducing the whole debate to MPP causing the problem, we're not doing about it. I'm saying that when it comes to that aspect, if you want to create a measurement or want to make analysis between the two parties, who has really or significantly contributed to this solving or the solution of this problem, we have done better. But admittedly, I am not saying that we have been able to solve all this. Indeed, well, this problem is not a problem that all of a sudden we are going to be able to solve it. No matter what you do, we'll still have problems in the agricultural sector. I mean, issues of transportation, issues of irrigation, issues of regulation of market prices. All these are challenges. But I'm saying that comparatively to the NDC and to the MPP, if you look at the critical interventions, I mean, you mentioned the factories about we've not been able to
provide them in every district.
But that's what I'm saying, that the bottom line is that we are still in government. And as of now, I mean, I can give you some list of factories that you should, you have...
So to the market woman who used to buy a crate of tomatoes for 300 Ghana cedis and now is buying for 1,600 Ghana cedis, what kind of explanation can you give her to make her rest assured that that price is going to go down? Because that's a serious jump.
That's what I'm saying, that at the end of the day...
And so if you're coming to list the number of factories that you have, and yet it's not reflecting in the pockets of people, and people are still spending so much to buy produce, where are we going with this?
You see, always, I mean, it's been like a trend. I mean, this question you asked has been answered. Probably you are just taking it back, and I mean, there's an invitation to still repeat myself. I've admitted that there is a challenge, and the challenge goes beyond just reducing it to a simplistic challenge. That, there are food prices hikes, or I mean, it's even broader. The challenges with the agricultural sector is very broader. And I am telling you today that it's a problem of sometimes you have huge, excess harvest. And there are also seasons that we have lean harvest. If you really care to know, there are seasons that we also have our farmers also complaining that in terms of unfair prices, regulation, and other things. And if you look at government response, I have also admitted on this platform that the solutions to this problem will not be an event. Government is continuing, and it's still, when I spoke about some of the factories with regards to when there is buffer or when there is bumper harvest, you have the home food processing factory solving such a problem. A confit factory, the unfettered tomato processing factory, and then Kraza one that I mentioned. These are all some of the critical interventions that we are doing. Then you come to the lean season, that when we the consumers suffer. Government can only come in, but how does government comes in? Government can only come in when it provides storage facilities, so that in the lean seasons, whatever the farmers can have produced, we can use them, or you can utilize them, or you can sell them. These are the only ways, these are the only modules that even if you go to the developed countries has been tried and tested. So if you want to measure our contribution, especially within the 4 years that we've come into office, industrialization towards the agricultural sector, the provision of one village, one dam, the provision of one district, one warehouse, significantly. We have done something tremendous, something significant. But of course, we do admit that when it comes to the lean side, that is, I mean, with regards to the irrigation, with regards to the storage, with regards to food processing and other things, we should do more on it.
Okay.
And as a government, we do admit that.
Council, please come in
You
for
see,
me.
it is precisely during the lean season that Ghanaians are unable to feed themselves, that we are complaining about, like we are now, because we'll be getting into the harvest season very soon, September, November, December, thereabout. So it is not the harvest period that we are concerned about, because as for the harvest periods, I have a farm at the back of my house. I say a farm, a garden at the back of my house. I can go and pluck corn there and roast and eat. That's not the period that we are talking about. If you are a government that is responsible enough, that government will ensure that there's continuous food security throughout the year. And that is why you come into power.
What did you do about the lean season?
Hold on, please. When you were speaking,
That is why
please
you
allow
come
me.
into power.
This was a question
Now-
to ask.
No,
kept
you don't
asking
tell me what
Now-
question to ask,
now-
please.
No,
Let me do my job,
No,
Chrissy,
you were- you
please.
kept in-
Let me
you
do
no.
my job. Let me do my job, sorry.
I want to.
Let me do my job, Chrissy. Allow council to speak. You don't ask the questions on the show,
No,
please.
but I also want you to know
When
that
it's
the
time to
moderation should
ask
be
him,
fair.
I will.
The moderation should be
And
fair.
I've been very
You
fair. Please
kept
allow it.
interjecting me.
Council, please
This is the
speak.
question that anybody should ask. You kept interjecting me.
Now, it is important that if you are in government, it's neither here nor there to say that farmers are complaining, consumers are complaining, and that during bumper harvest, the farmers are complaining. No, that's not what you should be telling the people of this country. How do you solve that problem where, in times of bumper harvest, farmers are made to, as it were, suffer because they think that they sell their prices at throwaway prices? You deal with that. Then, how do you ensure that also, when it's the lean season, consumers are able to get food to buy at cheaper prices? That is what government should do. Now, you ask a direct question. In our time, what did we do? Go check our budget for that period when we were in power. We gave tax exemptions to people in the agriculture sector who are bringing in implements, combine harvesters, those things that will ensure that agric is improved.
That's lean
what-
season.
Oh,
That's lean season. It solves lean season. Okay, go ahead.
I think that you are unruly this morning. You
Council,
see?
please carry
So when you are able to ensure that farmers import these things and you reduce their taxes or even you take away the taxes from the implement that they bring in, then they will be able to produce throughout the year. You are not doing that. You are piling up taxes. Taxes on agri products. People are bringing in combine harvesters, the taxes are high. People are bringing in tractors, the taxes are high. So by so doing, how are you going to get these farmers to continuously produce and ensure that we have food during the lean season? And that is what I am saying, that it takes a government that has the welfare needs of the people at heart to be able to address these issues where if there's bumper harvest, farmers are not shortchanged. And if it is also in the dry season or lean season, we can still have supply of food. And that nobody will complain that the ball of kenke has reduced. So that's what we should do. And stop saying that it is not an event. Why? You just sat here and said that we should measure the performance of governments in the agri sector per the commitments they have made. Who eats commitments?
But that's what the deputy minister is saying.
Who eats
that
commitment?
We admit there's a problem and we are fixing it. So by the end of this year, the prices of food will go down.
By the end of this year, people will have harvested. That's my argument. So it is automatically, it will come down. It is not his doing. It's not the doing of him sitting here. It's not the doing of the deputy agri minister. Definitely, there's a period for harvesting. That period, prices will come down. It is not a doing of the government because people have planted. The rains have come. And so, people will harvest. It's a seasonal thing. But we are not talking about that. We are saying that now, before the harvest, we are hungry. He's from the agri minister, He's a spokesperson for education.
Education, yeah.
Our school children are made to bring their food to campus and eat. No bread.
I'll need to know which school this is in.
I have heard.
We need evidence, because then we can't just say it on air.
But why Damango Secondary School even was an example?
You are saying that you didn't remember the other school.
No, I'm saying that, yes.
You mentioned you
it's in the Ashanti region.
Exactly. Which school exactly is this?
It's one of the girls' schools in Ashanti region. Now, I have even heard, the headmasters don't want to talk. I've heard that there's what is called barter system now among the schools. So you look at what you have, and then you compare it to what the other school doesn't have, then you can do some exchange. So probably school A lacks maize, but you have maize. You also lack sugar. They have sugar. Then you do some exchange. We've gotten to this stage. And instead of you to be remorseful, we are rather saying that the previous administration didn't do what it's supposed to be done. You are in government today. You are the one who is collecting our taxes. You should be addressing the problems and not to be sending us back. And I think that this attitude of government spokespersons, always quick to go to the past, when what they promised us was a better Ghana, a much improved situation. And so when there's a problem, we shouldn't talk.
But there are times when you also compare.
We shouldn't talk.
Is that not fair that they would also sometimes compare?
And have you listened to their response? Check their response when such comparisons are made. So I think that forward-looking, let's ensure that we allow the stakeholders in the agri sector, the implements they bring in are made to come in at affordable prices. They are able to use those implements to produce more. And for me, that's the solution.
All right.
You have a buffer stock. You also have one village, or one town, one warehouse. And yet, this does not bear fruits. We are still hungry. There's no food. So what is the use of the buffer stock? What's the use of your warehouses?
The minister says there's a bit of pressure on buffer stock company, but they are still doing their best. But anyway, I'll let us move on to another story. Our time is not much, and so we'll have to just quickly move on. Yesterday, the president made a comment on the acting Auditor General after the Auditor General's office had released a report on, some findings of financial irregularities for the period between January 2020 and December 31, 2020. Now, they gave a report on some 7, angles. And of course, it said that at the end of it all, Ghana had about 12.856 billion Ghana cedis of financial irregularities. Now, the president spoke yesterday and he commended the acting Auditor General, Mr. Johnson Ekwuamesiedu, for his work in the fight against corruption since his appointment. And according to him, these are clear indications of his professionalism and readiness to fight against corruption. And he says that this work that he has done, the previous Auditor General, Daniel Domolovo, was not able to do. Let's take a quick look at what he had to say exactly about this issue.
Score on the latest Corruption Perception Index. The 2020 Transparency International report gave the country a score of 43 out of a possible 100, a 2-point increase from 2019's 41 points. But civil society says that is not enough. According to the Auditor General's 2020 report, a total amount of 12.85 billion cedis were lost to irregularities committed by public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions. Chairman of the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Nana Osei Bonsu, wants government to deal with the vexed matters in the report. President Akufo-Addo welcomed the suggestions and recommendations tabled by the leadership of the GACC and noted the Auditor General's comprehensive report will be given the necessary attention it deserves. On the confirmation of the appointment of the acting Auditor General, Johnson Ekwamwa Asedu, the President observed that the circumstances leading to the exit of the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, occasioned his decision to allow the current occupant of the office to remain in an acting capacity to settle in the space.
I think we're all aware of the circumstances in which the first Auditor, when I say the first Auditor General of my time, left office. It seemed to presage some disputation between him and my government, between him and myself, and somebody had to act in his place. I believe the one who was succeeded him, who came to succeed him by natural order in the hierarchy there, has not demonstrated sufficient quality, independence of view. For instance, he's responsible for something that is unheard of in our history, the 12 statutory reports that have to be compiled and placed before Parliament in the year of Parliament. This is the first time it has ever been done.
He added that his administration has initiated the processes expected to lead Mr. Johnson Ekwamwa Asedu's confirmation as a substantive Auditor General soon. Ghana has
independence of view is one of the reasons why the president is touting the achievements of the acting Auditor General after that report, the 12 statutory reports that were compiled and placed before Parliament. And so the question that many are asking is that Daniel Domelevo was chased out of office over retirement issues. Remember that sometime on the 3rd of March, which was the day before he was supposed to get back into office after being forced on a 167-day accumulated leave, when he was supposed to return to office, is when he received that letter from the president indicating that they were thanking him for his service and that it has come to their notice that he had reached the age of retirement and had to go on retirement. And then the new one, Mr. Johnson Ekwamwa, was appointed as acting in August 2020. And so he's had time to work up until now. The president seems to be praising him. And that's the question many people are asking, that you're talking about independence of view. Mr. Daniel Domelevo talked about the fact that he was not being allowed to do his job because the Audit Service Board was not giving him that independence. And he seemed to have been chased out of office eventually. And so how are we then praising this man for work that he has done when Mr. Daniel Domelevo was also trying to fight corruption the same way?
I don't know where Domelevo reported that he was chased out of office. I don't know whether
he did not, but he said that he was not being given the independence to work. And we all saw what happened, which is why he was his contract was terminated, because they said he had to proceed on retirement.
I am also aware, and I'm sure the media will be aware, that there was some times in the past where Mr. Domelevo also even praised the president for directing, the greatest number of resources to his firm, that is his department, to be able to carry on his work. So you have to also at least take that into consideration. But before I go onto this one, just a quick analysis, maybe I should have the right to correct one or two things. If you recall, during Mr. Maliba's presentation, he said we introduced taxes on agriculture. If you recall, Dr. Baumia kept mentioning nuisance taxes that were removed. So that was clearly wrong. Again, during the NDC's time, agriculture grew by a negative percentage. So at least that clarity should be set right. There was a miseducation there. Then come back to the issue about corruption. I think if you want to talk about corruption, I have always insisted that corruption is a national problem, and we have to fight it holistically. Of course, we can score political points about corruption, who did what, and I have always insisted that if you look at Mr. Domelevo, for instance, he became more or less prominent or a bit relevant because we felt we needed that man with that iron fist to fight corruption. And so for me, if you want to talk about corruption, you do not even center it on one person, because if today, even had it been that Mr. Domelevo retired, say, voluntarily, do we, or are we saying that we will not fight or will not continue with the corruption fight again? If you want to have this conversation, it's a conversation that will have to broaden the scope of the conversation and then ask what have been government response to the fight against corruption. I have always said, and I think the last time I mentioned on your platform, that if you want to fight corruption, for instance, you try to reduce human hands in most of the activities, because at the end, if you look at the incentives that drives corruption, for instance, it is so greater, it is so super that it will be almost impossible to morally convince somebody not to do corruption. So as a government, you bring in policies, you bring in regimes, you bring in systems that can make corruption costly. As of today, if you look at the paperless POS system, for instance, it's helping to reduce most of the human interaction in that could have resulted in corruption. If you look at provisions, or if you look at interventions like digitization, all of these are helping to reduce corruption. Of course, I mean, if you want to talk about corruption, most people want to measure or reduce corruption to, say, prosecutions alone. And I mean, this is analysis that we can make. For instance, you have Mr. Wayome, who was paid 51 million Ghana cedis. You come in as a government. The options are two: either to use the criminal way to prosecute him and then convict him, or probably you can use a civil way and get your money. Which one would you rather use? Use the civil way and get your 51 million Ghana cedis, or just throw him in jail? But on the outside, you get a lot of Ghanaians saying that, well, you promise that when you come, you are going to, punish all these guys who did corruption A or corruption B. So far as they see him walking around, they believe that nothing has been done about it. But, admittedly, you also look at it into details and you realize that monies has also been retrieved from such individuals. So, for me, I feel that if you want to look at government's measures, government contributions to the fight against corruption, it's something that we've really done well. Now, on the issue of the Auditor General and what the President said, I feel that the media, for instance, can do us a great disservice, but by also recognizing the efforts of what this man is doing. Is it not a fact that he's actually been able to work on those 12 statutory reports? If it is a fact, why is the media also not acknowledging and reporting it?
But we have reported it, though.
I'm looking at even the extent and the prominence that we give to the story.
We've given it a lot of prominence. It's the statements the President made that the former Auditor General was not able to do something like this. But he was also fighting corruption. I mean, the Crowley and Associates issue with the senior minister. Eventually, the senior minister was cleared in the court by this same acting Auditor General who came in and said that they had checked those documents that were required and everything was fine. And so that issue was cleared. And that also raised eyebrows because at the time when Mr. Daniel Domolovo was supposed to receive the documents to check them when the Supreme Court had indicated so, he was forced on leave.
I am not sure you are doubting the credibility of the work that the Supreme Court did. Other than that, the judgment of the Supreme Court should bring the whole issue to finality. The Supreme Court sat on the matter, went through all the proceedings, and was able to come to the conclusion that, what Mr. Domolovo said was not accurate, and that Mr. Osafo committed no wrong. I'm not sure we are doubting that, or today we are doubting the credibility of the Supreme Court. Bottom line is that this man has also done something significant. Of course, I personally have some level of respect and affection for Mr. Domolovo because it is not easy for you to boldly come out to fight corruption. Of course, we acknowledge his works, we wish him well, but why is it also that we are also not speaking to the issues that were bordering on his retirement? Why are we not interrogating
that
the facts?
He was not Ghanaian?
No, was it whether or not
that he was not born in what, 1961?
No.
Because those were the issues around his retirement.
I'm coming. So if you look at the issues around his retirement, is it a fact that the documents that he brought, there were inconsistencies
with them? But he insisted that he was Ghanaian. He was born in 61.
I have never doubted that. But Bella, I just want to throw a question to you.
I'm not answering questions, so you carry on, make your point.
Yeah, well, you do not answer questions, but some questions are rhetorical based on where you come from. At the end of the day, if today you submit 2 documents to your employers today, or today, you happen to own a company, and at the end of the day, it is established that you file 2 documents legally without maybe swearing any affidavit to correct it. Which one would you rather rely on as an employer? Or are you saying that when there has been clear violation of the law, it is something that we should clap for him or what? Let's also interrogate the facts. Let's look at the facts and ask whether or not indeed he was indeed culpable. I do not personally have a problem with his work. But I'm saying that on the basis of his retirement, was it a fact that indeed he had reached that retirement stage, or was it not?
Was it the fact that the documents that he submitted, and indeed, I mean, they say he who comes for equity must come with clean hands. You are doing a work as an Auditor General. You want equity, you want probity, you want accountability. And then you yourself, if it is established, there are moral questions against you, there are legal questions against you. Do you think just because based on we see you are doing, or we see, I mean, you are in the media and you are capturing all the media headlines, it means that if we find inconsistencies, if we realize that the documents that you brought is something that do not meet the legal test, your employer probably should apply for it. I'm not sure that's what we are suggesting.
But to give all the honor to the acting Auditor General, we know that auditing is a process, right? It may have started before even Daniel Domelevo left office. And so if the report is out now and the president seems to say that, you know, he's done a great job, independence of view and all that, and so this is something that the former Auditor General did not do, but this acting one has done it, then is it not unfair that we're giving all the praise to this man when maybe the other Auditor General may have had a hand in all of this?
I don't know why we are just reducing this whole debate to, I mean, Domelevo out, and bottom line is that Mr. Domelevo is not in office.
That's what the president started.
No,
Nobody would have made this reference. I'm saying that Mr.
Domelevo is not in office. When he was in office, we exalted him for most of the work that he's done, including you media. I mean, even though with regards to matters of crew association, even though the Supreme Court had made a clear declaration on that, I mean, we even had sections of the media making it look like or appear like government was still at a vendetta or a witch hunt, which was not true. Bottom line is that this man has done a work. But for the president mentioning it, which media station really reported it?
We all reported it.
Well,
we all reported. Otherwise, then how did it get out there?
No, I'm saying that, but for the president mentioning it, that's why it became news.
That's why what became news.
I'm saying that, yes,
from the audit.
yes, no, I'm saying that, but for the president, mentioning this, that anybody picked it. Just like when Domelevo just released something to the media and the media picks it and it starts flying. Which media station actually mentioned that this man has done a tremendous job and he needed a recommendation?
All right.
So what the president did was actually to say that beyond, say, Mr. Domelevo or beyond whatever, we have also competent people, equally competent people who are also managing the affairs of our audit service.
Council, please hold on. Let's read some comments quickly and then... Sorry, Cookie.
Bella, there are so many messages. So please time me. When you think I should stop, I will stop. Good morning to you, Bella and TV3. In 2017, the president promised the good people of Damango a water project that was going to be completed by the end of 2018 and to convert the Damango Agri College into an agric university. None has been fulfilled so far. Just last year, August, he came and cut sword for the commencement of the Damango water project. It's been a year now and nothing is happening. The good people of Damango deserve their share of the national cake, not national lies. John Osman sent in that one. Now, whenever we speak of challenges that the country faces, the questions that come to my mind: who is responsible? Why are we not holding people accountable? In other countries, nobody is above the law. You do wrong and you are prosecuted. Until we begin to hold people clearly responsible or accountable for their wastage of the resources and the wrongs that they do, the country won't grow as expected and Africa will still be the poorest. Malik in Accra sent in that one. Good morning, Johnny and Bella. There's one thing I've come to understand. Our leaders come into power for their own selfish gains and not to bring development. Railways have always been the best and safest medium of transporting bulky minerals like bauxite and manganese, but now vehicles are used to transport these minerals and they are destroying our roads. Now the Takrady road has become a death trap, but because our selfish leaders are making money from it, they are not doing anything about it. One day, Okwasini Eni Ebete, Christian from Takwa, sent that one. Gideon from Afenya says, we all see it clearly like the sun, how corruption fought Domelevo and Martin Amidu. Please check this out for me. I suspected I had COVID, went to the trauma specialist hospital at Winneba to do the test, but I was told they don't have any kits and I was asked to go to the municipal hospital. Unfortunately, it's also finished over there, and the guy told me it finished about 3 weeks ago. What is happening? Are we serious at all in this country? Ebo from Winneba is asking. Johnny, the food prices have shot up, making things difficult for the ordinary Ghanaian. We are suffering in silence. Good morning, TV3. I really enjoy your conversations. Now, during the president's campaign, one of his policies was planting for foods and jobs. And here's the case: we can't even plant and eat, not to talk of jobs. Akufo-Addo has to do something. Good morning, TV3 New Day. If you really want to know the prices of food, kindly pay a visit to the Ghana Standard Board's canteen. Food started from 15 Ghana cedis and is now 20 Ghana cedis in just a few days. When I asked why, the answer was the cost of living is very high everywhere else. Please, the government should do something to curb the situation. The prices of food, okay, I've read that something in that regard. Good morning. Maize price will be higher next year because we don't get fertilizers for our farmers at the north. Akanyi Joel from Bolga sent in that one. Good morning, Johnny. In fact, the price of beans in Tamale is 22 Ghana cedis. Rice is 20 Ghana cedis, and the farmers don't have access to the PFJ fertilizer. Can you imagine that 40 kg of fertilizer is going for 190 Ghana cedis across the country? It is very, very sad to be in Ghana under this government. A concerned citizen from Tamale sent in that one. Okay, I've read this one already. Good morning, Johnny. Does the president really watch the local national TV stations? Because there's a disconnect between him and the reality on the ground. It's saddening. It's sad watching the market prices of goods every day go up. Yet the big Englishmen and women will tell you the reports are mischievous. God save Ghana. Karim Muhadi from Tamale, and the messages are a lot. So
quite a lot,
Bella,
yeah.
I'm so sorry I can't read all of them.
It's fine.
It just tells you the situation on the ground.
I know. People are complaining. They are not happy. But thank you so much. That's Cookie reading the messages there. Lawyer, coming to you now. What do you make of the president's statement yesterday?
Bella, I am now convinced that the president has deep-seated dislike for Domelovo.
Why?
That comment was unnecessary. A person has worked, he's gone on retirement. Why do you follow him in his retirement home and be talking, I don't want to use the word rubbish, things like that about him? Why? Why? This is the only Auditor General who has the temerity, the courage to surcharge public officers if they went wrong. He did that against your senior minister, and you ensured that he was removed from office.
The Supreme Court cleared the senior minister and the other associates.
Now, having removed him from office, you decide to follow him in his bedroom when he's resting peacefully to attack his credibility and say that the current man has done better than Domelovo. This is a needless comment. It's a comment that can be left to serial callers and not a president. You don't do that. In any case, why wouldn't he be happy with the current Auditor General?
Because he's put out that.
He will be happy with him because the current Auditor General did a wishy-washy job that ensured that Osafo was cleared. So he'll be happy with him.
How sure are you that he did a wishy-washy job? He says he went through the documents that were actually presented to the Auditor General. He went through it and everything was fine. The deal went through as was supposed to.
If you have a president who is interested in fighting corruption, you don't remove the man at that critical moment when he was pursuing a matter in court. You don't do that. You bring his deputy, he does a wishy-washy job, and then he's cleared. So he'll be happy with him.
All the service board said the man was on retirement. He had reached his retirement age.
In this country, haven't we seen people who have gone on retirement and they've been given contracts to serve for four more terms? So, assuming that Domelovo had gone on retirement, if not but for his deep-seated dislike for Domelovo, why wouldn't he have given him?
Why would the president dislike Daniel Domelovo? He was the same one who asked him to accept the appointment.
Look.
When he was appointed in December 2016. No, he was the same one who called him and said, accept the appointment.
Because at that time, his government was not under the spotlight of the Auditor General. At that time, the spotlight was on the previous administration. Indeed, you remember some of their communicators and some institutions aligned to the MPP said that Domelevo was the best appointee that Mahama has ever appointed. But when he then focused his attention on the current administration and was pointing out at the wrongs in the current administration, you saw what happened. I am saying that the biggest challenge that we have in this country in our quest to fight corruption is Akufo-Addo himself. It's Akufo-Addo himself. Look at the comment he made against the Auditor General.
Why do you say that?
He is not interested in people who are determined to fight corruption. He fights them.
He's doing everything
he fights them.
He's committed
Indeed,
to fighting corruption.
When he met the CSOs, he chastised them for criticizing him because he said some of them wanted him to leave office. How on earth can a president speak that way?
But should he not be praising people if they've really done a good job, which is in the case
must
of
all CEOs do the bidding of the president? Must everybody in this country be in favor of the president? Can't some people question him? What kind of president do we have? Is that a Democrat?
Should he not praise people who are also doing an incredible job, just like the acting Auditor General? I mean, he has disclosed the rot in some of these institutions.
Praise him, but don't follow the man into his retirement and begin to condemn him.
Okay.
When we all know, when you do a poll now, who is the greatest Auditor General in Ghana before? It will be Domelevo. He wins.
You are not so sure.
Hands
you are
off.
not so sure.
I am sure he will win.
Let us conduct the polls first. You are not so sure.
Do it.
That may be what you are
do
thinking.
It and tomorrow
and it
you call
doesn't reflect
me.
on
Do
all
it and call, tomorrow you call
They
me.
also have
do
their
the
own
post.
opinions
Do
on that.
it and call me tomorrow. The president cannot simply stomach criticisms. That's the kind of person you have.
All right.
He goes on tantrums. He attacks civil society for criticizing him. What kind of president do we have?
Okay.
Why did we bring this upon ourselves? Is that a Democrat? Is he a Democrat?
We have to wrap up here, Council. Thank you.
The president
Thank
must begin to behave like a president and stop doing that.
Alhaji Hamza says, good morning. I'm on my knees begging journalists like you and others to take cameras and visit Tamale Teaching Hospital at the maternity ward and see things for yourself. I just returned from Tamale yesterday. Babies are born and kept on the floors with their mothers. There are no beds and mattresses for them, and I'm told it's happening in other hospitals across the country. What's happening is sad. Politicians had the political will to increase Article 71 holders by 79% and turn around to tell us that the country is broke because of COVID. Good morning to you, Great Meg. Those were the pictures that we showed the other time of those mothers. I remember Johnny received this picture from someone from the Tamale Teaching Hospital as well. And we saw mothers of babies who were in incubators, and the mothers were sleeping in the corridors on the floors just so they could stay closer to their babies. It's very worrying, but well, the health minister says they've not abandoned projects and they're doing everything they can, to improve upon the health situation in the country. Let's see how that goes. Kwesi Kwarteng is now the spokesperson for the Education Ministry, and also lawyer Abraham Amaleba is the senior of the legal team, or the head of the legal team of the NDC. Big thank you to Sheila Bonsu.
The school I'm talking of, you wanted me to give you the school. It's Kumasi Girls.
Kumasi Girls. We will check and verify. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Well, he's mentioned the name, so we'll check. But keep watching. This is still TV3 New Day.